Welcome to FoxLingo. Today's topic is, what is the best way to learn English? And look, I am just going to call you out right out of the gate.
Oh, we are going right for it today.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Yes, you listening right now, I know exactly how you feel. You went on a trip, you walked up to a barista in like New York or London, and you ordered a large iced vanilla latte with oat milk.
Right, and they handed it to you, and you walked out of there feeling just incredibly smug.
Exactly.
The absolute arrogance of it, really. I mean, you booked a hotel room over the phone without stuttering once, and suddenly you are mentally updating your resume to say you're a bilingual mastermind.
Yeah. You probably took a selfie with the coffee cup and texted your mom about it. You were walking down the street thinking you have conquered the English language because you successfully engaged in, basic commerce. But my friend, I kind of hate to burst your bubble here. Everything you have been told about intermediate and advanced fluency is a comforting lie.
It really is.
If you think you're fluent because you survived a coffee shop run, you are currently trapped in the Dunning-Kruger effect. That classic psychological trap where acquiring just a tiny bit of a skill tricks your brain into falsely believing you have an absolute master.
It is a harsh truth to swallow, especially since, well, we've known each other since middle school, and I vividly remember you acting like an absolute linguistic god just because you managed to ask where the bathroom was during our trip to Berlin.
Hey, wait a minute.
You strutted out of that restroom acting like you were ready to broker a peace treaty at the United Nations.
I stand by that. I mean, it was a very urgent situation, and my survival instincts kicked in. I honestly deserve an award for that performance.
Sure you do.
But honestly, that is exactly what the language learning industry has been selling us since we were kids, right? We've been told for decades that practicing these exact survival scenarios, ordering food, asking for directions, making reservations, that this is the golden ticket to fluency.
Right, the survival English stuff.
Yeah. But if we actually look at the notes for this deep dive into how the brain acquires complex language, this is a catastrophic waste of time for anyone sitting at, like a B2 or C1 level. So why is ordering coffee actively ruining our progress?
Well, what's really fascinating here is the underlying mechanics of those interactions. Neurologists and linguistics analysts refer to these situations as having algorithmic predictability.
Algorithmic predictability.
Yeah. Think about what physically happens in your brain when you walk into a cafe. You are not actually creating language. You are executing a script.
Right. It's totally linear. It's like, what can I get you? Size for here to go. Card or cash?
Exactly. Both you and the barista are essentially reading from a mental teleprompter. Because the sequence of events is universally understood, there is zero cognitive friction.
Wow, zero friction.
Yeah. Your brain does not need to work hard to build new neural pathways to survive that encounter. It's not generating anything new at all. It's simply going into its mental filing cabinet, pulling out a pre-recorded audio file labeled coffee order, and hitting play.
That makes total sense. It's kind of like playing a video game on the tutorial level where you just mash the A button to skip through the dialogue menus.
That's a perfect way to put it.
You aren't really playing the game. You're just pushing a button to make the NPC stop talking so you can get your inventory item.
Exactly.
But let me push back on this a bit, because I think we might be being a little unfair.
Yeah.
Isn't getting through a real-world transaction without freezing up the literal definition of fluency? I mean, if I get my coffee without having a panic attack and forgetting the word for milk, that builds confidence, right?
Yeah.
And you need confidence to speak.
Sure. I mean, if you are a day one beginner, getting over the sheer terror of opening your mouth is a totally necessary milestone. But confidence is not competence.
Ooh, confidence is not competence.
Right. The problem arises when intermediate learners mistake that lack of anxiety for actual fluency. Fluency isn't just about successful transactions. It's about adaptability and complex thought. When there is zero cognitive friction, your brain is just coasting. It's like going to the gym, picking up a 1-pound dumbbell, doing 3 reps, and saying, well, I successfully lifted the weight without dropping it, so I must be a bodybuilder.
Oh, man. So my heroic caramel macchiato order is just my brain in sleep mode.
Completely. Neuroplasticity, which is, the physical rewiring of your brain to accommodate a new language, that only triggers when it encounters resistance. If you are just retrieving a script, your brain stays in power-saving mode. It doesn't physically change.
Okay, so if coffee shops are a dead end, what is the natural next step most people take? Because we realize baristas aren't actually our friends, so we think, I need to have real conversations.
Right.
We hop on language exchange apps, we find friendly native speakers online, we go to those expat meetups at like loud pubs, and we think we are doing the hard work. But according to the research in our deep dive, this is actually the second major trap.
It is. It's the polite conversation illusion. And this one is insidious because it feels incredibly productive.
It really does.
You sit down with a friendly native speaker and you talk about your hobbies, your hometown, the weather, your favorite movies. The vibes are immaculate.
Immaculate vibes.
But here's the brutal reality. These friendly conversations are actively sabotaging your cognitive growth.
Okay, I love to argue with you, but I'm struggling to see how the nicest, friendliest conversation partners we can find are secretly our worst enemies. So you're saying being a nice, polite conversationalist is actively sabotaging our brains. We need people to be mean to us.
Well, if we look at the biology of learning, the fundamental problem with polite conversation is that there are zero stakes.
Zero stakes.
Yeah. Think about the social dynamics. If you are telling a friendly language partner about a hiking trail back home and you totally mangle the grammar, let's say you butcher a past conditional tense, what does your partner do?
Well, they just nod. Or they smile politely. I mean, they definitely don't stop me to point out that I sound like a caveman, because that would ruin the vibe of the chat.
Precisely. If you use the completely wrong vocabulary word, they just use context clues to guess what you meant, and the conversation rolls right along. Because they are polite, there is no consequence for your failure. And the human brain is, at its core, a remarkably efficient, lazy machine. The moment your brain realizes that it doesn't need to be precise to get the dopamine hit of a friendly social interaction, it stops expending energy to improve.
So it basically realizes, hey, this broken English is getting the job done. They're smiling. I'm getting validation. Why burn calories building advanced grammar pathway?
Exactly.
It just parks the car.
It parks the car, turns off the engine, and settles into what neurologists call a sloppy plateau.
A sloppy plateau. I love that term.
It's so accurate. You are no longer communicating complex nuance. You are just surviving on a mutual agreement of social politeness. You are producing inaccurate, fragmented language, and your brain thinks it's a massive success because the other person bought you a beer anyway.
Wow. I have absolutely spent hundreds of hours on language apps just coasting on good vibes. We were mutually hallucinating that I was speaking good English because we were both too polite to stop the ride.
Most people do this.
So if scripted customer service interactions are a fake tutorial and friendly language exchange partners are enabling our lazy brains, who on earth are we supposed to talk to? It sounds like we literally need to seek out enemies.
This brings us to the core paradigm shift for advanced learning. You don't necessarily need an enemy, but you absolutely need an opponent.
An opponent?
Yes. You have to move away from information recital and engage in what linguists call high-stakes semantic negotiation.
Semantic negotiation.
Yeah.
That sounds like I'm trying to buy a used car from a philosopher. I'm guessing this means moving past, I like movies, do you like movies, and getting into territory where words actually matter.
That's the leap. Real fluency is not about reciting facts from your memory banks. It is about defending an idea under pressure, resolving a complex conflict, or navigating total unpredictability.
There's a brilliant boxing analogy in our sources that perfectly illustrates this. Ordering that coffee or doing a polite language exchange about your weekend plans. That is the equivalent of hitting a punching bag.
Because I can punch a bag all day, and it just swings back into place. The bag doesn't hit back. It doesn't test my reflexes.
Yes. Real, authentic conversation, the kind that physically forces neuroplasticity, is a sparring match. You need an opponent who throws unexpected punches.
Right.
You throw a controversial idea out there, and instead of nodding politely, they dodge it, counter it, and throw a completely unpredictable counter-argument right back at your head. Man, it's the difference between doing a rehearsed dance routine in your bedroom and actually trying to dodge a right hook.
Exactly.
So if I'm not relying on a script or a polite smile, my brain have to physically build a new bridge under fire to survive the conversation. Because in a sparring match, if you don't adapt instantly, you get knocked out. Okay, but here's the practical problem. How do we actually force our brains into this sparring match without just starting random street fights in English? I can't just walk up to a guy in a pub in London and say, your shoes are terrible, defend yourself.
Okay.
How do we manufacture this friction safely?
Well, I mean, you could try the pub strategy, but your dental bills would be astronomical.
Real quite.
To manufacture this safely, you have to intentionally step into what's known as the friction zone through argumentative output.
Okay, the friction zone. What does this actually look like for someone sitting at home right now, trying to break out of their sloppy plateau.
It means you take a complex, highly nuanced topic, something you are deeply passionate about in your native language, and you actively seek out a scenario where you have to explain or defend it to someone who explicitly disagrees with you.
So we're talking about heavy hitters, not which pizza topping is best, but actual substantive debates.
Right. We're talking about the ethics of artificial intelligence taking over creative jobs. We're talking about the fundamental flaws in the modern education system, or a highly controversial political philosophy.
Right.
And just to be perfectly clear for you listening, whether that political philosophy is left-wing, right-wing, centrist, or completely anarchist, it does not matter. We aren't taking a side or endorsing a specific worldview here. We are completely impartial.
Exactly. We're just reporting what the methods are.
Yeah. The point is the mechanism of the argument. The topic just has to be something that gets your blood pumping and your defenses up.
You know, I remember you doing this to me in college. We were arguing about some terrible sci-fi movie you loved, and I was so frustrated trying to dismantle your awful points that I was practically stuttering.
My points were flawless, but go on.
Yeah, right. But if I had to do that in a second language, I think my brain would short circuit. What is biologically happening when we enter that zone?
Complete cognitive panic. And that panic is the secret ingredient you've been missing.
Wait, really? Panic is the secret ingredient?
Yeah. When someone challenges your logic in real time, your amygdala spikes. Cortisol and adrenaline hit your bloodstream. Your brain registers a mild threat to its social standing.
Oh, wow.
You can no longer rely on your pre-memorized, polite vocabulary. You can't just say, I think it is bad. Your brain realizes that to survive this intellectual threat and win the argument, it needs hyper-precision.
So the sheer panic forces the brain to dig deeper. Suddenly, I can't just use basic adjectives. I have to use advanced grammar structures to express nuance, to deploy sarcasm, to make a concession, to build a hypothetical scenario just to prove you wrong.
Yes. You find yourself desperately grasping for words like nevertheless, whereas and on the contrary.
Right.
And this is the crucial difference. You aren't using those words because a textbook told you to fill in a blank. You are using them because your survival in the argument depends on it.
That makes total sense.
You need, nevertheless, to pivot away from their attack. That biological necessity, combined with the adrenaline, physically creates the neural pathway. It coats those connections in myelin, making the memory permanent.
That's the devil's advocate protocol, isn't it? You purposely take on an unpopular opinion or try to explain a highly complex technical process, but you do it with someone actively pushing back on you.
Exactly.
But I'm still stuck on the logistics here.
Yeah.
Where do I find these people? Because my current language exchange partner is way too nice. If I start yelling about AI ethics, they're just going to think I'm having a bad day.
You have to engineer the environment. You weaponize the internet.
Weaponize the internet. I like the sound of that.
You don't go to a casual language learning forum. You go to a dedicated debate Discord server for a specific hobby or controversial topic. You join a voice channel for a complex strategy game where communication is literally life or death for the team.
Oh, that's smart.
Or if you use a paid language tutor, you have to fundamentally change your relationship with them.
So you basically fire them as a conversation partner and hire them as an opponent.
Exactly that. You tell your tutor, do not ask me about my weekend. Today, I am going to argue that universal basic income is a terrible idea, and your job for the next 30 minutes is to dismantle my argument and tell me why my logic is flawed.
Whoa.
You tell them, do not let me off the hook. You give them permission to be ruthless.
I am sweating just thinking about this. I mean, trying to be deeply sarcastic and analytically rigorous in a second language while someone is actively poking holes in my logic. So if my brain doesn't literally feel like a laptop running way too many tabs with the cooling fan just screaming, and I'm not actively sweating trying to win an argument, I'm not actually learning.
That is the harsh reality. If you cannot express anger, frustration, complex sarcasm, or deep analytical thought in English, you are not fluent. You just have a very large vocabulary.
Ouch. You just have a very large vocabulary. That's a brutal truth bomb right there.
It's true, though. Knowing the flashcard translation for 5,000 words doesn't mean you can wield them as weapons when you are cornered in a debate. The brain only adapts when it is forced to survive a cognitive crisis.
We measure fluency by how smooth that coffee order was, or how many Duolingo streaks we have. But real fluency is messy, it's emotional, it's the ability to get into a heated debate and actually hold your ground without reverting to your native language in total frustration.
Right. If you want native-like fluency, you have to stop talking about your weekend plans. Your weekend was fine, we get it.
Yeah, we totally get it.
But nobody's brain ever formed a new neural pathway by saying, on Saturday, I went to the park and ate a sandwich. You need to seek out intellectual friction.
So what does this all mean for you listening at home? It means you need to stop looking for comfortable, friendly spaces to practice. The comfort zone is where language skills go to stagnate on that sloppy plateau.
Exactly.
Stop hitting the punching bag. Step into the ring. Find someone who will explicitly disagree with you. Set a timer and try to defend why hot dogs are actually sandwiches or why the education system is fundamentally broken. Let your brain overheat.
Embrace the cognitive crisis, because surviving that crisis is the only way your brain will permanently map those advanced structures.
And that leaves me with this final thought for you to chew on today. If true fluency really requires this level of intense emotional expression, conflict, and sarcasm, does learning a new language fundamentally change your personality when you argue? Or does stepping into the friction zone in English just unlock a combative, sarcastic side of you that your native language was somehow keeping hidden?
That is a deep dive for another day.
If you liked it, don't forget to subscribe and like.